Alright, it's your boy No Name. What's good, guys? Just wanted to bring you guys the Shockwave Totem build that I talked about in my previous video that I used to then take, a very, very low investment on both the character and in Sanctum to then turn it into an Apothecary. You got some footage in the background here of the character. I mean, it's not the fastest thing in the world, but it's very smooth. That's the thing. When it lacks in raw movement speed, it gains in both having a lightning orb, as you'll see here soon, as well as the raw damage that it's getting for such a cheap price point. Like you can see, lightning warp is actually very fast to get through here. But the character is just very explosive, very powerful. Right, the totem playstyle just works so well for Sanctum. I feel auto targeting from such a ridiculous range, astral projector included for this one in particular. Right. And one interesting thing about totems that you're seeing here in this clip actually is that you can box in enemies in arena rooms, so be aware of that. Don't freak out. I had that happen a couple times. But overall, the playstyle is just super comfy. It's very methodical. It's very, methodical. It's lazy. It's like a minion player, honestly. So if you like minions, or even if you don't like minions, honestly, you get to scale it a lot harder, and you can see the boss damage. She started the fight and she's just gone, right? Like that's the whole thing here. It's got a basic preload that I'm just putting down totems, all of my debuffs, my brands, and then you really just leave. The skills are important because of the caster mastery for getting the speed going, and so this is very good here. Like you can see the damage, it really kicks off, and even on Lycia herself, it really pops. And boom, then you get the loot. Alright, so now that you've seen like the build in action, you understand the strategy a little bit, right? I just want to talk very quickly about the actual composition of the characters. You understand some of the decisions I made in putting things together. Very easy starting point to think from though is like Hermsara plus Heat Shiver is a really, really strong combo. Really, it's just Heat Shiver is a really, really broken item. But it pairs very well with Hermsara so that we can utilize some of these higher base fizz skills like Shockwave Totem, or like if you've seen like Exsanguinate Minds, for example, another great example of utilizing Hermsara to enable Heat Shiver. Or you'll see on like lightning characters such as like Stormbrand or Spark, they'll use Call of the Brotherhoods in order to enable Heat Shiver. Heat Shiver is the core of this build's damage, right? This is like probably the second most important piece in the build. And I say the second most important because we're playing Shockwave Totem. Astral Projector is what makes the gameplay look so smooth. Shockwave Totem naturally is just an AoE around itself, as opposed to a targeted AoE of damage. And that is what Astral Projector is good for. That's the specialty, right? So this allows us to target off screen. This just allows us to do ridiculous damage. This allows us to benefit from the Heat Shiver that we just up above. And then we have some extra pieces, right? Arn's Anguish is about turning the defensive side of an Ascendancy node into an offensive side. If you remember, Hierophant has Conviction of Power, which +4 power, +4 endurance is already just a really good node in and of itself. Especially since they're minimums, you don't have to do anything to keep them, and we run around at 5 powers all the time for endurances, or endurances is what they would be if I wasn't wearing Arn's Anguish. But brutal charges are significantly stronger. Brutal charges your chance to deal triple damage, and I think something about stun threshold as well, but primarily the triple damage is what we use this for. It's a really, really powerful fix, and you can see when I take the belt off, it's a ridiculous amount of damage, and it's not because of the aura effect. The aura effect is like I think 3 or 4%. I feel like I had one in here that did maybe a different version of the POB that had one without the corruption, because I was curious how much it actually mattered. Not that much at all. Then the rest of the gear is a +2 AoE tabby. You can get +2 AoE on literally any chest. This was just 30 chaos, so you save a lot of money. There is a version that I did of this build initially where I used Vol's Devotion because I didn't want to buy a jewel. It turns out the jewels were fairly cheap at this point still anyways. But if you can't get your hands on a jewel, Vol's Devotion lets you get Inner Conviction anyways. And then you can get +2 on that, for example, and go hard. It's worth noting, +2 AoE is stronger than Vol's Devotion, or stronger than Inner Conviction. So if you had to choose between getting access to the Dominus Keystone, Inner Conviction, or +2 AoE, take the +2 AoE. It's just stronger. Some other things, the rest of the gear is just rares that I found off of trade. Using the trade for these items button, this is incredible. When you're looking for damage, just make sure you adjust the weights and turn off effective hit pool. and then you can set the max price and go from there. Very, very strong. I might make a video. Let me know actually if you guys want me to make a video about like various like tips and tricks that I use to assemble characters efficiently, or just tips and tricks in general. Like I could maybe put together something. I've never like sat down and thought about all of that. But anyway, then the jewels are things that I bought off of trade. I will say these clusters were kind of a scam. The fizz was fine. It was like 50 chaos, and I know that this would have been a lot more than 50 to actually make because the base is really expensive because of a different trio. But this trio of mods is actually the best trio for us. Um, then we have our totem cluster, which costed me a little bit, and the crit cluster also costed me a lot. The crit cluster is extremely easy to self craft. The totem cluster is a little bit more problematic, but I still don't know if I should have paid that much for it. I just paid it for the sake of the video, like the sake of getting the cost information right. And then the tree, like I mean, standard caster tree, totem nodes, crit. This mastery is very nice. Totem nodes, yeah, all that good stuff, right? Like there's nothing special here. No like weird tech. We look at the links. The only important things are I have a debuffing setup for bosses. I have my totems. I have my movement skill. Lightning Warp is an incredible movement skill. And then another debuffing setup for bosses, which by the way, Vortex is also a Nova skill. So you don't even have to walk up to the target to apply Vortex for Bone Chill on them. You can just literally like point and click it away from away. Auras. Oh, right. Auras. Yeah, I have one little, and then my blessing. One thing about auras, this discipline is necessary. If you take it off, you'll notice I have 118 ES. And it's how I'm actually casting my skills. And this is mostly due to the bases that I'm using more than anything. On this level of budget, when I can't just cram reduced cost into the build like that, having two ES bases and then looking for a damage chest is, or two non-ES bases, my bad, two evasion bases even, and then looking for damage chest is pretty hard. Plus, I wasn't prioritizing a very high ES shield. I could have gotten away with like a titanium, but as I'll talk about in a second, I wouldn't have really gone that option. When you could just run discipline and then run the zealotry that way off of your blessing. Ideally, this would have been Herald of Purity, but I just literally couldn't afford. Wouldn't have been able to afford either my Shockwave Totem or my blessing without the discipline. So that's what it's here for. It also like makes the sustain just that much better because it does increase recharge rate. I mentioned talking about the shield. One of the bigger mistakes that I made in gearing the character is definitely this shield. It is strong. Like if I take away the additional totem it gives me, let me show you. Like if I take away this additional totem, like we're looking at 30.8 million, and now it's 25.6 million. But here's the thing. So if I just put another scepter on, now do not look at the 43 million. You have to take away the totem first. But I go down to 5 totems, I'm at 35.8 million, and that's just with like switching it one for my other weapon. And that would be because, well, the shield itself is not actually that high damage, but more importantly is that it increases my initial damage on 2 totems, right? Because now my hit DPS per totem is 7.1, or per totem is 7.1, as opposed to the 5.1. And so we gain about 4 million in just like damage done when we're placing 2 totems at a time and moving, which just makes the farming that much faster. And you can scope up, you can, like I said, I got this for like, got here and I'm about to cover in a second actually. I got my scepter for 1.3 div, and you could definitely do the same, like definitely get some good scepters between the 150 to 300 chaos total value range. And like 2 scepters of that value would do a lot better for you. You could also even get more cat speed this way. Like here's a second cat speed scepter would also make your lightning work faster and whatnot. Like it's very good that way. But overall, you can see the cost in here. It'll be in the notes so you can look it over. And then some stuff that I like missed in my plan, like that I had in my planning but didn't get. I didn't get my boot enchant because I just got tired of looking for it, and I didn't want to craft. Is the big thing. I had the space in the budget to craft the boots, but I don't like craft. I didn't like the idea of crafting for this because it makes the number difficult to calculate because of RNG and also knowledge, like potential knowledge disparities and all that other weird stuff and whatnot. So I was just like, I'll just buy boots, and I couldn't find go to any like decent boots with the enchant within my budget. I just didn't have Eldritch Implicits. You should get those. There's percent face gained as cold as an implicit, and then moving speed or action speed. Very easy. And there's literally a jewel socket empty. I'm pretty sure you noticed it, right? Literally any 5 or 10 C jewel will do there as like a filler. And so like overall though, you can see the breakdown of the budget and how I put it all together. And that it is in fact under 10 div, right? All right, so thank you for watching. If you haven't already watched the previous video about how to do Sanctum and you're curious how to do and you're curious to know a little bit about it or how to like make money out of it, I strongly suggest checking that video out. It's got a lot of very good information in there about Sanctum, and I mean that's the intended use for this character, right? I built this character to farm Sanctum. There's some notes about if you want to map on this character, you're going to want to change out like haste for an actual defensive aura, and definitely change out the tabula for an actual chess piece. Just because like this character is paper thin. It was not designed to live actual map conditions. It was designed to not die in one hit to very specific things in Sanctum. And so with that in mind, if you want to learn Sanctum, check that video. If you should check it out anyways, honestly, just because you should know why people are running Sanctum so much in case you're curious why people are just making so much money out of it, right? But anyways, that covers everything for me. And if you want to see anything that I'm doing live, you have any questions, if you want to keep up with the next step in the project, see how the remaining apothecaries are going to be made ahead of time before the videos come over here, you should come check me out on Twitch. I'm live mostly in the early afternoon area, except like on the weekends, then I stream even longer, right? Come check me out or come hit me up at Discord, whatever it may be. All the links will be in the description down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.